Gather around, my little mistakes of a drunken night out. Have I got a tale to tell you? Most of you are familiar with the story of Christmas. What with the three old guys following a star to give baby Jesus some presents or some such nonsense, which in modern days wasn't considered commercial enough. Three Middle Eastern men showing up at your house with gold and two other weird items didn't have much mass appeal, so they swapped them out for a fat white guy riding flying animals. But do you know the tale of the day after Christmas? Yes, boys and girls, December 26th is Boxing Day, at least in the UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and a few other places. The Americans celebrate it in the same way as the rest of the English-speaking world, but they came up with the incredibly creative and clever name of the day after Christmas. Few people, however, are sure of its origins, because there's never been a Charlie Brown or Mickey Mouse special about it. So, this is the story of Boxing Day. It all started on Christmas Day, in a far-off land known as the really white parts of Europe. The servants were scurrying about, creating the grandest of feasts for their lords to celebrate the birth of Christ. Some were preparing the plump ducks that were raised and killed specifically for this night, while others set the large banquet table that the king and queen and their guests would be sitting at, making sure the 100-foot by 20-foot tablecloth was even, the fine china and gold chalices were thoroughly cleaned and placed just right, and the various rats killed, because it kind of ruins the atmosphere to have rodents running around on your food, even at a time when people bathed like once a month and rarely bothered to wipe their asses. The king and queen and their royal family and guests enjoyed the great feast as they always did, and only one servant was sentenced to death for spilling a drop of wine on the tablecloth. Later that night, when the servants retired to their quarters, one child asked his father, "Father, why are you always so tired at this time of year?" Exhausted and frustrated, he explained to his son, "The king's greed forces us to work more and more up to this day, all so that our king can have yet another grand meal, despite the fact that we servants and our families are lucky to eat once a week, and when we do it's nothing more than a stew made of boiled water and the remains of the livestock that were too sickly to be consumed by royalty." He spoke far too loudly, though, as another servant overheard and went straight to the king, hoping that their tattling would be rewarded with gold, or at least more straw for his bed.
"My lord, one of your supposedly loyal subjects has been complaining about your generous offerings. They say you're greedy, and that you don't give them enough."
The king was angry, and ordered his royal guard to drag the malcontent from his quarters. The servant was brought before the king. "Explain yourself to your king," said the guard, with a knife to the servant's throat. Yes, my lord, I did speak ill of you, I apologize. It's just that every Christmas we watch you eat more food in one night than we see all year, and we work ourselves near to death to prepare it, and in return we receive nothing." The royal guard asked,
"My lord, shall I execute him in front of you for your amusement?"
The king thought about it for a moment, and nodded. Before the guard could slit the servant's throat, however, he yelled, "Wait!" He realized that perhaps he was a little harder than usual on his servants at this time of year, and perhaps they deserved a little something special. "Release him," he told his guard. He then asked the servant, "What became of the food we didn't consume? Has it been disposed of yet?" "No, my lord," replied the servant. "It was put in sacks to be fed to the royal swine tomorrow, as your queen ordered." The king ordered the servant to retrieve the sacks, dig out the food, and wrap it in boxes. The next morning, the king himself presented his servants with this gift of leftovers, as a token of his appreciation for the fine meal they had prepared for him and his guests the night before. And on the 27th, he had the insolent servant who complained killed in front of his child,
"Father,"
and also hung the snitch from one of the palace towers, because no one likes a snitch. And thus, Boxing Day was born. And it's still celebrated in similar fashion to this day, as corporations show their appreciation to the morons who paid the ridiculously high markups for their shitty wares all year long by offering small discounts on the garbage that no one wanted to buy their friends or family for Christmas. The end.